All right, greetings and salutations, everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. I want to thank you all for tuning in today, Tuesday, to our Lions Talk Live. Coming off a big win, Lions fans everywhere rejoicing. The possibility seems tantalizing that we could go through this weekend's game and then possibly the Thanksgiving Day game and get two more wins and be 9-2 with a mini break. You know, that's something we just haven't seen, even talked about, spoke about, even in the most optimistic of circles from Lions fans in a long, long time. But before we get into today's video, as you guys all know, I've got a few things I typically like to talk about. If you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. Really trying to make a push to get to 4,300 by the time we play the Bears this upcoming weekend. Also, if you got a free second, you're listening and you're enjoying the content, don't be afraid to hit that like button, thumbs up button, whatever you want to call it. As you may or may not also be aware, on top of making YouTube content about the Detroit Lions and being a coach, I'm also a realtor and have been for over 30 years. So if you're considering buying or selling property in the state of Michigan, give me a call. It can be anywhere in the state of Michigan. I can personally work with you. 269-998-2384. Yes, some of you guys do contact me from other states in the United States of America, and I can help you out there as far as giving you advice, some ideas. I know yesterday one of you reached out from Utah about a property you had to sell in Georgia. So I don't mind trying to give you guys some advice and try to point you in the right direction and try to help you out. So by all means possible, go ahead and give me a call or shoot me a text. I can either work for you or try to give you some good information. Try to save you a little bit of money too. All right. With all that said now out of the way, let's go ahead and go to the comment section. Seems like a computer locked up for a second there. All right, comment section is a moving and shaking, and we got good morning, Phil. Greetings and salutations to you. Hopefully you're having a good one. A do one. All right, James. Good morning, Coach. Happy Tuesday. Hoping AG is working hard on learning defense better. Yeah, and you know you've got a point. I'm sure that's James being echoed by Lions fans everywhere. You know it's not easy being a coach. It's not easy when you're inexperienced at that, and now the team's playing at a high level. Most coaches, not always, but most coaches in his situation come on to teams that aren't doing very well, and you kind of cut your teeth, you earn your stripes, whatever you want to say, by helping that team grow and expand. AG and all the coaches here have kind of, give them a lot of credit, from MCDC to Ben Johnson to, yes, Aaron Glenn. These guys have turned this team around in just record time. I don't care how optimistic you are, how much Mountain Dew you drink or whatever. When these guys were all hired, nobody foresaw that 18 months later, they would be taking a 1-6 team and turning it into basically a playoff team. And let's be fair now with that too. After last year being 9-7, I get a lot of fans came into the season thinking, man, we got a real golden opportunity here. And they're right. But how many really thought that we were going to be 7-2 at this point in the season? I'm sure some of us did. I'm sure some of us hoped. But the realistic expectations are these coaches are all learning under fire. I agree with you 100%, James. He needs to lean on, older, more experienced coaches or whatever. Or maybe if there's some whiz kid out there that can give him some ideas. Because right now, a major hole was exposed in this defense by the Chargers, and everybody's going to be using it against against the Lions from here forward until we prove we can meet it and beat it. So what can he do to get better? He's got to make some phone calls. He's got to talk to some people, and he's got to spend some real time, I'm guessing, or at least I'm hoping, on that flight back. And I know they landed about 2:30 a.m. our time yesterday morning. So I'm guessing he went and got some sleep, but I'm sure hoping that yesterday and today, since you really have limited contact with the players, you've got more time to just do film study as a coach at the NFL level. That's all he probably really did. And probably even tomorrow morning before they get onto the field and do some prepping for Chicago as far as a full practice. So he's got to come up with answers. There's no real short answer for me to give you, James, or I'm sure it'll be a topic with other people too. But Aaron Glenn, this is his moment. He can either help take this team to another level, or it's going to be a problem, and a problem for most teams. Let's, since we're on the topic, understand this. Most of the teams that have given this defense struggles this year have been athletic, quarterbacks who can, and then on top of that, also throw the football. And what do you have this weekend? We've talked about it before on the show. I think Chicago's becoming a worse and worse matchup for Detroit, and something they're really going to have to address from a defensive standpoint in this offseason. So, long story short, I'm anticipating this game being a lot closer than probably most people think. And, well, I probably went on too long about that, but sorry, guys. All right, Ed, what do you got? Good morning, Coach Dan. It's obvious AG needs some help. Do the players have any input on the game plan? That's really up to the coach. I'd say if you're a good coach and you're comfortable with who you are as a coach, you're not threatened when somebody makes a choice. And yeah, there's a lot of coaches that are. Somebody makes a point or whatever to you, you kind of shrivel up inside, and then you become even more stubborn. I hate saying it, but I do think Aaron Glenn might fall into the latter part of that comment. I hope I'm wrong. I don't know him personally, so I'm just hoping I'm wrong. I do think that you probably got some guys that are going to try to offer ideas or opinions to him. I do hope that Aaron Glenn, again, is talking to other coaches and trying to get some ideas. I get, he's not being helped by the fact that, I get some of you are going to come at me in the comment section, but there's just not a lot of pass rush talent on this team as far as people who can win the 50-50 plays. What does that mean? You have one-on-one blocking. You're able to win half the time. And really, to be an NFL pass rusher, even an average one, you should be winning 60% of the time. If I had to put a grade on, say, Hutchinson, who's arguably an elite pass rusher in this league, he wins 80% of the time. Means 20% of the time, the offensive tackle or guard or whoever he's lined up with, can just flat out shut him down one-on-one. And the problem for the Lions, from at least what I'm seeing when I break down film, they only get pressures when they scheme each other open outside of Hutchinson. Houston, when he gets back, yeah, he'll be closer to about a 60 to 70% winner. But that is so much, that 10 to 20% that Houston provides is so much of an improvement over what we're getting out there. It forces offensive coordinators to either scheme things differently or shift blocking. So you can't basically put three guys on Hutchinson. So Aaron Glenn needs to come up with some stuff. The other part is, too, let's make no mistakes about it, they need some better talent on that defensive line. They're good at stopping the run, but you can't just stop the run. You've got to get to the quarterback, especially at the NFL or college level. Phil, how would Danzilla enhance this Lions defense? Boy, you're putting me on the spot here, Phil. But I'll say this: my coaching style with all the teams I've ever coached in whatever sport, we're going to be uber aggressive. We can clean stuff up on the way. We can get better with things, but I would probably change. Houston and Hutchinson would remain. Some of the interior line and backups would become a lot more gap fires. So what that means is they're not really worried about holding the line and stopping the run as much as they are about getting past that offensive lineman and get to the quarterback. We will stop the run on our way to the quarterback. Also means you put a lot more pressure on your linebackers or whoever the second level is. You're going to be a little bit more vulnerable to screens and quick outs, things like that. But I'm a big fan. I'm going to make you adjust your offense based to our defense. We're not going to adjust to your offense. We're going to take away half of your playbook right off the bat, because those plays that we take away, you can't run against us because we're coming after you too fast. So hopefully that's a bit of a speak to you there, Phil, is what I would do different. But let me also be fair. Every coach does something different. No two people are exactly alike. All right, Bergs, what do you got? Good morning, Lions faithful and Mr. Dew crew. Dan the man, good morning to you, Bergs. Hopefully you're having a great one. Clark Griswold, Denver isn't going to be an easy win. I'm thinking our schedule is more challenging than people thought. Good morning, Coach and Dew crew. Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. You guys heard me talk about before. I can remember the very first games of the season, man, people were saying Minnesota's a joke, Denver's a joke, Chicago, Green Bay. There are really no jokes in the NFL. I think the one thing that really might be in our favor against Chicago is if that front office says we're trying to lose as many games as possible for draft status. I get they had incentive to beat Carolina. So that makes sense to me, because Carolina loses, the Bears win as far as the draft status. So, losing to the Carolina Panthers, who did nothing for them. It will be a tell if they think they're all in on Justin Fields or if they might be going for another quarterback. If it's me, and nobody asked me because this isn't a Chicago Bears channel, but I'd be keeping Justin Fields. I would keep developing him and using those draft picks to either trade down, get some younger players either in the draft or via trades. But I think Chicago, if they do this right, they could really speed up their rebuild. But the other part of that is, too, I think they've also messed some things up. But, again, they're not asking me. All right, Papa Noel, greetings and salutation, Coach. What can we do to fix the defense? It's got me worried. Kind of like I said, I think they've got to be less predictable. And I think they do a great job. We'd all agree on it, of stopping the run. I mean, they are built to do that. The problem is once you stop the run, now what can you do to stop the pass? Bigger physical receivers are clearly a problem for this defense. We just don't match up well with them. You look at the games that have been close this year and the games we've lost, especially, just the Keenan Allens of the world, the DK Metcalfs. We just have a very difficult time with our secondary doing something with them. Now you add in the fact that those wide receivers also are being thrown to by mobile quarterbacks. It's just another layer for us to have to address, and we've got to address it. You can't do it this year, but next year, I think you can. And what they're going to do, who knows? I'll worry about that once the season gets closer to a close. But, it's something they're going to have to work on. I actually liked the idea of Jack Campbell over there just because I do think in time he could become a pretty good pass rusher. I was less than happy to see Charles Harris back. It's nothing against Harris. He might be the man of the year or whatever, but he's just not getting it done. And at some point, players get old enough, the chance of them all of a sudden flipping a switch where all of a sudden they become vastly superior, that typically doesn't happen. Where Campbell, you can say this, he's a rookie, probably the next, 2 to 3 seasons, he's going to get a lot better. And so because they're about even, in my opinion, I'm leaving the veteran behind. When you're even, you're leaving. All right, Phil, Lions need to be drinking dew during the game. Half diet, of course. Yes, I would concur, especially at halftime. I mean, they got to do something to kind of wake up for that offense and get going in the third quarter. All right, Lance, so the chat gets moving earlier and earlier. Love this show, and it's a part of my morning every day now. I'm glad you're enjoying it, man, and thanks for the kind words. Phil, do they make blue dew? I believe they do, and a red dew and stuff, but I haven't ever had them. So I'm pretty much just the original, and it's got to be from Circle K, and it's got to be half regular. Little John Flowers, greetings and salutations. All talk about getting to the other team's quarterback coach. What's up with us? Man, this is a topic this morning. Just kind of the same stuff. I think you got to blitz it. You got to disguise coverage more. I would like to see us put, 7 guys on the line of scrimmage and force the offensive line plus the blocking assignments to figure out who's coming and who's dropping. You've got to create some confusion. And the one thing that I'm anticipating every team's going to do to us is what the Chargers did from about the 8:05 remaining in the second quarter point. They went hurry up. They got everybody set at the line and put guys in motion basically to force Detroit to reveal, are they in zone or man? And now Herbert had an idea what to audible to based on the coverage. You got to make it a lot more harder on the other team's offense and quarterback. What you're going to do is an air gun, because that was a very good move by the Chargers because they were struggling offensively prior to that. I don't know, but he's going to have to come up with something to counter that, because if you don't, then every team is just going to keep repeating it. And we gave up 5 straight touchdowns on drives to the Chargers. You're never going to survive in the NFL if you're going to allow touchdowns to be scored left and right. As great as our offense was, at some point they're going to get stopped as well. All right, Drake, what do we got? Hit that like and subscribe button, everybody. Let's get this man's 10 to 5,000. Thanks for that. Yeah, I think we hit 42 yesterday. So yeah, if we could get it to 4,300 by Sunday, I'd say thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. Ryan, greetings and salutations. Goff is 20-21 as a starter. Who would you take right now, Goff or Stafford? I'll take Goff. Me being the GM in me would say this, Ryan. While obviously this is a lightning rod topic for Lions faithful, both guys have been great for Detroit. Stafford's no longer here, but just for me, I would look at it this way, especially if we're talking about today. I'd be taking Goff all day. He doesn't have an injury history. He's, I don't know, 5-6 years younger. The contract currently is a lot more favorable. So with just those factors alone, I mean, unfortunately for Stafford, he's beat up. The Lions kind of did him dirty throughout most of his career, and didn't provide a running game or a decent offensive line. He withstood a lot of beatings here in Detroit. Now that has continued in LA, and you guys have probably heard me say it before. I wish the guy well. He did nothing but great things in Detroit when he was here, either for the community or the fan base. It's unfortunate they never won a playoff game or stuff like that. I'm sure he wanted to win them. It just didn't happen here. But because of the injuries, because of the age difference, I'd be taking Goff all day. All right, Phil, what do you got? Do you have a motorcycle? I do not. I do not have a motorcycle. Lions fan, Goff, yeah, I'm with you there. Ed, coach, how many assistant coaches does the Lions have? And don't they help AG? How many total throughout offense, defense, special teams, coordinators, stuff like that? There's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30, depending if you want to go as deep as saying equipment assistants and in-game conduct assistants, quarterback coach, position coaches. You get it. There's a lot of people, but they're probably around there. People probably offer some thoughts, but I'm also going to think based on what little I know of Aaron Glenn, and remember what I said. As little as I know, I think him, Ben Johnson, and MCDC are a little stubborn, like a lot of coaches are, especially in moments like that where you're getting roasted. Somebody comes up, makes a suggestion, you probably want to just choke that person out. I'm guessing is kind of how Aaron Glenn handles that. I could be way wrong. Maybe he's very open to it. I hope he is, because I think right now he needs a hand. Now, he has done a lot of good things. He has improved as a coach, but I think a major chink in his coaching armor has been exposed. And like I've said already on the show a few times, everybody that we're going to face from here on out, especially more veteran coaches who probably know how to manipulate things just a little bit more, are going to really come after him. All right, Lions fan number one, good morning all. Coach, how do you see Holmes going in the draft next spring? If it's me, I think the first round pick is probably going to be an interior offensive lineman. You're probably going to be able to get better quality there later in the first round than most other positions. So it's my anticipation, Joan Jackson, they may not re-sign him just because you're going to have a lot of money tied up into Sewell and Decker, and then Ragnow, if he's not retiring or whatever, he's probably got a couple more years here. So 3 of your 5 guys are eating up a bit of the salary cap. Could you pay Jonah Jackson? Sure. But that also means 4 of your offensive linemen are now really getting paid. I'm okay with it because it is a major component in winning in the NFL, but you're going to have to make sacrifices somewhere else. After the first round pick, I'd say the second round pick has got to be a pass rusher, somebody who can get a pressure on the quarterback, and the third round pick is probably a cornerback. After that, we'll worry about that when we get closer to the draft. All right, Ryan, could Detroit use Jack Campbell as a pass rusher more? Put him on that line. That guy is huge. Yeah, and I agree with you, Ryan. I think they've obviously done it a lot this season. Campbell, as he's emerged better and better, you're seeing Derek Barnes' snaps go down more and more. Campbell he's a freak of nature, man. I mean, that dude, I don't know if you guys ever seen the TV show on Amazon, Jack Reacher. He reminds me of that dude. I mean, he's just massive and he's athletic. I like the idea of developing him there. You guys have heard me talk about it. You could see he's still learning. He's incredibly raw in that responsibility of things. But I'm a big fan. Give players more and more skills so they have more and more possibilities out there. They're not so shooed into one area or one particular design. So to your point, Ryan, yeah, get them out there and keep getting them reps. So that's my opinion. All right, mile marker, what do you got? Good morning. Let's share out the chat today, huh? Okay. Waiting longer to message so others can see and hear their message. Just being aware this is a great crowd. Yeah, it is, man. Everybody in here really just comes in. You're right, Mile. They come in, hey, and they're ready to talk about the Lions. I know I had the topic, the thumbnail, what do you have, power rankings. So real quick, so I can get this in. I got Philadelphia number 1. I got Detroit number 2. Kansas City number 3. I'm gonna probably gonna take some flack for this. I'm gonna put the 49ers at number 4 and number 5. Oh boy, who am I gonna put at number 5? Probably the Cowboys. And there's gonna be some probably flack on that. I thought about putting Baltimore at number 5 or number 4. And maybe they should be, but you know what? Hey, that's part of the power rankings. You can't make everybody happy. Tune in next week to see if something else changed. But right now, that's my top 5. And let me know what you guys think of it. And you guys can have your own thoughts, move them around however you want. All right, Phil, do the Lions draft another edge rusher or find a free agent? That's a fair point. Could they go after somebody in free agency? I think so. They're going to have some cap space for sure. Boy, I guess I don't really know off the top of my noggin who the big free agents are going to be this year, let alone some of the sub agents. Maybe there's some value out there, but they've got to do something to correct that come next year. 3, 2, 1. Yep, here we go. Ken, good morning, Coach. Good morning, Ken. Hopefully having a good one. Michael, what do you got? Howdy, Dan, in 7-2 Lions faithful. Do you expect CJ in Houston back next month? And effects? Yeah, I think they'll both be back. You guys heard me say it on the channel in the last month or so. I was hoping Houston would be back around Thanksgiving. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case. He's got to be pretty close, though. In CJ, a month ago, he's doing push-ups. So they're both not too far off. My guess is, probably one of them early to mid-December. The other one probably mid to later December. So they'll get some games back. If nothing else, you add more depth. Houston would obviously help. A huge need for this team at this point. They've just got to try to do what they can to keep developing some of the younger players. I am hoping also that Broderick Martin will keep developing. I think he would help if he can develop with some of the pass rush, because our defensive tackles or interior defensive line, they're very, very stout against the run. They're not going anywhere as far as getting the quarterback on a regular basis unless it's something schemed up from a schematic standpoint to get them freed up. Broderick Martin would add a lot more athleticism to that defensive tackle room and help with the pass rush. Where he's at in the development, I guess only the coaching staff would know. But the effects, Michael, I think you're just adding more depth going into the playoffs. And, depth is huge, especially as we get late in the season, just because teams do get beat up. Players get, a little bit more nicked, and that would help out exponentially. All right, Johnny Mac, what do you got? Pascal, it has been a bit disappointing, but who hasn't been? When the entire D-line is not performing, it's hard not to blame the scheme. I think there's some truth on both sides of things. I think we're not getting win rates from a lot of the defensive line, but to your point, I think you're spot on. I think the cone funnel formation, whatever you guys want me to call it, it's just not providing guys an opportunity to go after the quarterback. I get you're trying to not allow a quarterback to scramble up the middle of the line to get some free yards. The other part of that, though, is we are getting chewed up by a lot of quarterbacks who just have all day to throw. And that's where I think Aaron Glenn needs to have a come to Jesus moment and say, hey, I get the intent is great, but this works well against lesser experienced quarterbacks, against veteran quarterbacks who just aren't rattled that much by having to sit back there for 3-4 seconds, where I think a lot of people get antsy and then make a bad decision. If you're younger, the veteran quarterbacks, they're just like, they're sipping tea and picking apart the defense. He's going to have to make some adjustments without question. Philippines on demand. Watching you from the Philippines. Go Lions. Go blue, baby. Whereabouts in the Philippines, man? And wow, that's another person watching from someplace I would not have maybe initially thought of. So hopefully you're enjoying the show and having a great day. What time is it where you're at too? I'm going to guess somewhere around 8 p.m. Don't hold me to that, but let me know. All right, Johnny Mac, I think Fox should be a help to that D. You would think, yeah, you'd lean on him a little bit for some ideas and wisdom. Maybe he has. But I think, yeah, Aaron Glenn's going to have to change some things up here to try to catch some teams off guard, without question, Johnny. Bergs, what's your take on give JPP a look? He could help. I know a couple people brought that up yesterday, Bergs, and I don't think it's a bad idea. I'm surprised we don't have more reports, especially we're getting to that point in the year where depth and such starts to really pop up for teams. We haven't, you guys let me know if I missed it, but I haven't heard the Lions call in many people on a Monday or Tuesday just to put them through some individual workouts to, hey, if we need to sign somebody, we're going to give you a call, or a practice squad. That's normally pretty standard. You get to about the middle portion of the season where teams bring in free agents and start putting them through workouts on Mondays or Tuesdays. And Bergs at this point, again, maybe I missed it, but I haven't heard them think of or call anybody. Could JPP help out? Depends on what he has left in the tank, but at this point, could it really hurt? I guess that would be my thought. Why not bring him in? All right, what do we got? Robert, good morning from Lake Placid, Florida. Hopefully you're having a good one. Big T, what up, though, Coach? One Pride. Good morning to you, Big T. Hopefully having a good one. Big T, Coach, honestly, I think our schedule has gotten harder. Broncos played well last night. Yeah, Broncos are figuring some things out. You could see it against Kansas City. I mean, we all get they had some pieces on defense. They apparently did receive a lot of calls about a couple of different people, including Patrick Surtain II. They just said, no, we're going to stick with it. And kudos to them. They had some self-belief and awareness. They didn't give up on Wilson. And what can we say? They're actually back in the thick of things for their division and a potential playoff spot. They come in and get a few more wins and try to get one against us. They could really resurrect their season. And that's probably the one issue I have with the NFL trade deadline. Is I think if you moved it back 2 or 3 weeks where teams really had a clue, hey, we're still in this thing, or no, we're really out of this thing, you'd see a lot more action. But maybe at some point they address that. Obviously, it ain't going to matter this year, but the Broncos, among some other teams, do show signs of life. And, yeah, our schedule isn't as easy as I think a lot of people were thinking once upon a time. All right, mile marker. Is it likely that DC was waiting to see what happened with D after the bye? He seems very aware of his criticism. I mean, it's possible for sure. I mean, we can all say, hey, coaches and players don't pay attention to the media. They block that stuff out. But I can only tell you my experience. I think most coaches and players do pay attention. Right, wrong, or different. And you can see it really have an emotional effect on a lot of people, especially when it's negative criticism. Because you can't really turn on your sports radio or, ESPN or whatever, especially if you're coaching at the NFL, and avoid it. It's just everywhere. So, yeah, I feel bad for them, but it's part of coaching, man. I don't care if you're even talking the high school level. You're going to hear about it. Somebody's got issue with you, and they're going to put it on social media or whatever else. But that's also why you get paid a couple bucks to deal with it. So, all right, Philippines on Demand. If you don't know what he falls into the latter part of your comment, why make it if you are not sure? It's unfounded speculation to suggest that, Coach. Peace. I guess I'm not sure 100% what you're meaning about. What did I speculate about? If I don't know if he falls in that latter part of the comment. Yeah. Sorry if I'm not getting it, man. Maybe I just haven't had my Mountain Dew yet, and that's not kicking in. So apologies. All right. Good morning, Dr. D. How you doing? Some of the players have to play better. Making penalties on 3rd and 4th down was a major problem. Yeah, and there's that too. One thing I will point out, because I rewatched the game last night, I will say this. Hey, referees are never going to make every call correct. They're human, just like players and coaches aren't going to make every call correct. But I will say this: the low block they called on Decker, he whiffed on. He didn't even make contact with the dude. So I don't think it should have been called. Of course, it comes down to my interpretation of the rule. So that cost the Lions 4 points. The 4th and 1 with a play action at the start of the 4th quarter where the Chargers hit, the TCU kid in the back of the end zone. Also should have been waved off. If you go back and watch it, their center is downfield blocking. He's in the end zone blocking. I think it was Barnes. So because of that, that should have been a downfield penalty. That should have been called. It should have been 5 yards, making it a 4th and 6. I'm pretty sure at that point they're kicking the field goal. But either way, that's a pretty good swing just between those two plays. Again, it's easy for us to watch and on replay and get things. Officials, hey, it happens, man. It's part of life. All right, Dr. D, what do you got? Dan, do you believe it was a mistake not getting D-line help in free agency, especially this season? Dr. D, yeah, I'm not Brad Holmes. I'm more aggressive or assertive. I think he's a lot more calculating and thinking long term. My thoughts would have been, I do believe they tried to get Sweat. I do 100% believe that. I think if it would have remained a 3rd round pick for him, Montez Sweat would be a Detroit Lion today. Once it got up to basically the Bears and their 2nd round pick, there's no way the Detroit Lions could supersede that unless they give up a 1st round pick. That's the only way you're going to leapfrog their 2nd. So I get why we didn't get them. Who else you could have won after and got? I don't, I'd be here all day speculating, but I do say this, Dr. D, I would have been after it because, man, you've got a golden opportunity this season, and we'll see what happens. But I think 1 or 2 players on that defensive line could have made a big difference. We'll see, though. I mean, we're not dead yet. We're not out of the water. We're still winning. It's just, could have made it a little bit more easier, I guess, on the team. Who knows? All right, Phil. Can the Lions move Hutch around more and force the double team guy on Hutch to take a linebacker? Yeah, that's one thing that I've been a little bit surprised with, because at the start of the year, you could see that they were moving him around, sort of like they did last year. They moved him inside, outside. They stood him up. They, put him down in the 3-point stance, all that stuff. This year, for the last, 5 games or so, it's like they got away from that. And I think it just makes it so much easier to say, all right, he's going to be here. We're going to account for him here. You're not forcing the offensive line to guess or their OC to guess at all. Where is he coming from? Hey, we got to make an adjustment here, line call there. You're just letting them sit back and say, hey, we know what to do because he's in the same spot all the time. Your point, Phil, yeah, I would move him around a lot more along with other guys on that defensive front. Kevin, good morning from Cincinnati. Why are we bringing pressure with the linebackers more often? It seems to be very effective whenever we do it. Boy, that's the question of the day, isn't it? Why are we becoming more and more vanilla? Where, hey, last year we schemed some things up. We became more creative. I'd even say the start of this year up until, again, about a month or 2 months ago, we were more creative. And then just something snapped. And, man, now we don't do that. And who knows? Aaron Glenn's the only one who can answer it. But unfortunately, it is what it is. I mean, hopefully he's playing possum or something for the final 8 games, and now he's going to go back to being more creative. I don't know, Kevin, but that's a good question. Ed, I really love the show. It's a great way to start the day. Thank you, Coach, for explaining and not yelling at us like some others do. Do people? I mean, you guys have mentioned that a few times. Who yells at you guys? And what about? I don't get that, man. Nah, man. I mean, this isn't a show about 1 or 2 persons. This is all of us, man. Just having a conversation. All right. Our commander, Sam Howell, scored 31 points twice against the Super Eagles defense. Yeah. And here's my question, when you go back to that draft class, do we now look at Sam Howell and say he was the best quarterback? I think there's an argument to be had there that he is. Super Bowl or bust. Yes. Thank you for that, Phil. Bergs, today in the NFL, no game is easy. It's hard to win each week unless you're playing the 0-16 Lions. So I'm enjoying the season and not taking anything for granted. 2 short years ago, we were playing for the top pick. Go Lions, baby. Yeah, you're 100% right, man. And this is what the NFL wants. Let's all be real. They want every game to be close. They want teams to be deep into the season before they're eliminated from playoff contention. And I get it. It's a business choice. They want as much parity across the league as possible. You know what? Your team finished fourth in your division last year. Well, this year they got a chance to be number one. And I like it. I like it a lot. I think most of us do because it makes it more interesting. It makes your rooting guide stand out more. It keeps your interest longer in the season. Unfortunately, as Lions fans for the last 20 plus years, you got to this point in the season, we're already talking draft and free agency and everything. But it's nice that things have changed. Phil, is Sutton hurt or is he just not playing very well? I think overall he is playing very well. It's just in recent weeks he has gotten, probably because we've gone to more and more zone coverage, he's looking for some picks. He's looking to read quarterbacks. Those eyes are laser locked on the quarterback and in the backfield. And because of that, veteran receivers every once in a while change up their patterns and now take him deep behind him, and he loses sight. We play a ton of single high safety. So what that means is Kirby Joseph is in center field, and he's got to go from one side to the other sideline. And that's a big ask for any safety. I don't care if you're Ronnie Lott or whatever. It's just hard to cover that much field and to have that kind of responsibility. If we ever go back to having two high safeties, then that's not as big a deal. But since we stopped the run so well and we put that other safety up in the line, like Tracy Walker so much in the second level of the defense, Sutton's getting exposed a little bit more and more. And Aaron Glenn, along with the secondaries coach, is going to have to talk to him and say, hey, we've got to get you out of that because it's going to cost us at some point. Good catch on that, Phil. All right, Aaron, Michigan man from Melbourne, Australia. Yes, I live in Australia. We need a key player on D-line. Got to help Hutch. Yeah, I agree. And, last year in the draft, I was really hoping we'd make a trade up to get Anderson. I knew it wasn't realistic, but hey, I can still hope, right? Or something else like that. I do think that Houston ultimately is probably the complementary piece, but I also get he has some real holes in his game, and you guys have heard me talk about that long enough where I don't need to dive into it. Houston's an A at pass rushing. He might be a C at run defense. So, Aaron, your point about getting somebody opposite, yeah, I think getting somebody else on the opposite side, edge rush, and then probably trying to find an interior defensive lineman who can generate some pass rush. I mean, every NFL team wants that. That would probably be among my top of my grocery shop list this offseason. And then this defense, I think, could really be something. Jerome, hey, good morning to you too. Morning, Coach. When D. Campbell comes out and says we had a good week of practice, does that mean that we have a plan to beat our opponent? Or if so, why don't they show up on game day defense? Sorry, I had a cough. I think a lot of it is, Jerome, you think about, and let's just use the Chargers game for an example. Our defense that first quarter looked real good. And the early part of the second quarter, it looked real good. The problem came, and this is just my opinion, so it doesn't have to be anybody else's, just mine. Chargers said, we're in a no-win situation here. We've got to roll the dice and try to come up with something. So they tried something that isn't their norm. They went no huddle, and they tried to just make adjustments, make it easier on Herbert to figure out, are they in zone or man, and then where are they putting the safeties, among other things. So Herbert was struggling. I think we all get it. He threw the pick. He had a couple 3-and-outs. That offense was going nowhere. Aaron Glenn had schemed perfectly, and let's have that sink in. He had schemed perfectly for the Chargers. The problem to me as a coach became once the Chargers said, all right, we're going to roll the dice and try something different, and caught Aaron Glenn and the coaching staff off guard with something, there was no adjustment to counter that from Detroit. Now, I get they play, Detroit, hey, we're going to play some man, we're going to play some zone. You did a couple of things, that to try to catch up, and the problem is you didn't have an answer for what they were doing. Younger coaches, and again, just my experience, struggle to make adjustments in game on the fly, under duress, to be able to calmly think about, okay, they're doing this. This is what we need to do to answer that. You just don't have enough experience. It's no different than being a player. Think of a young quarterback who's never seen certain coverages before and gets tricked out, or he thinks one thing's going to be open, he throws the ball there, and really you're throwing it into the middle of 2 or 3 defenders. That's where Aaron Glenn's got to evolve. When more and more things pop up like this, over time, he's going to say, all right, I've seen that before. I know what to do. He's not there yet. He's probably devolved that on some things, but Jerome, your point, I think it's spot on. You can have a great week of practice, but if you ain't got answers, man, that stuff goes out the door real quick. All right, Don, what do you got? Is Chris Jones a Lions next year during free agency? Oh, boy. Don, I guess I don't remember. Did they sign him only to 1 year, or didn't they get him signed to multiple years? I mean, you may know more than I do. I just don't pay that much attention to Chris Jones. But if he is a free agent, I'd be saying, man, back up the truck. We're going to get him, because that would solve a whole lot of the problems on the D. Yeah, man, you get him, and then a healthy Houston will go with Hutch, maybe another player. Whoo! I would love it, man, because I love D. I love offense. I might love defense just a little bit more, though. All right, Don, greetings and salutations. Same to you, Don. Yeah, Dr. D, that would be huge. Not sure it's possible, but huge. Yeah, who knows? Maybe Brad Holmes says, we're going to go for it. This is our time. Don, Dr. D is in the building. Yes, he is. Bergs, I'd take Goff all day. I was told I was nuts by my friends when the trade happened, because I said Goff will be better than Stafford in the long run, and he's on his way. Yeah. I mean, I get Stafford has a very rare arm. You could say it's like Herbert or, I don't know, a lot of other guys with cannons. But again, going back to the fact that, Goff is healthier, no real significant injuries throughout his career, younger, all those things. Yeah, at this point, I'm taking Goff. Dr. D, Grands, yep. Don B, rather have Goff than Stafford. It seems to be some of the commentary. And again, nothing against Stafford. It's just he's older, and unfortunately, he's a little beat up at this point. Dr. D, I think Brad swings for the fences this offseason. It's time. We wanted it this year. Next year is when it happens. Welcome to Detroit, Chris Jones. That would be massive, man. That would be massive. And if you could do it without giving up draft picks, to where now you could focus those draft picks on other areas. Whoo. Yeah, we'll just put it that way. Ric Flair, whoo. Not enough pressure from Harris, Buggs, and Kaminsky side of the ball. Need major help on that side. Yeah, Kaminsky's played this year. It's been a while since we've really called his name out. And Buggs, kind of the same thing. I mean, Harris, man, he's just been non-existent almost. So, some of it, let's also be fair to them, though. Some of it is the schematic ideas of Aaron Glenn wanting to just slam the offensive line back at the quarterback. And you guys, I'm not going to go on it. You get it. It's to stop somebody from running, but you've got to get pressure on quarterbacks. Dr. D, I'm not mad. Get another cornerback also. Yeah, I would agree that would not hurt. If Jerry Jacobs becomes your third, that's a pretty good secondary. Nick, good morning. Defense is horrible. Something needs to be done ASAP. Defense wins championship. If they can't score, they can't win. You're not wrong, man. It's just going to come down to what can we do at this point. That's why I don't know, unless some of the younger players really start emerging. You're gonna have to come up with some different schemes. Southwest Lion, hey, good morning. I haven't seen you in a bit, man. Good to see you, Dan. I appreciate your perspective and the perspective of David over at Motor City Mania. Too many people are looking at this win through rose-colored glasses. Aaron Glenn needs to get it figured out. Yeah, and I've said it 100 times already today. It's just you have a younger, less experienced coach. He's going to have to take some shots before he's going to start figuring some things out. He has improved quite a bit from his first year, but he's only going to get better in time, and hopefully he can figure things out a little bit more rapidly to end this season. So happens, man. Ron T, what do you got? I tried to trade Jackson. Could be, yeah, could be. What would you trade for? So. All right, let me know. Michael Jordan, Vegas has us as 9-point favorites. Do you think that's conservative, or you think blowout? I'm thinking 42-24 Lions win, but definitely still shaky. And let's bear score. Yeah, I would say this, man. If Justin Fields doesn't play, I think it's going to be a huge blowout. If Justin Fields does play, I think it actually could be a game. I think. And I'm basing that on one simple thing: how we've attacked mobile quarterbacks this year. I just think, okay, he can run. He's got a cannon. And if you don't get pressure on him, his guys are going to get open. The younger guy, I don't know his name. I get he start the last 4 or 5 games. You're asking a lot of somebody to come from D2 ball, even though he was the creme a la creme of quarterbacks at that level, to now make a massive adjustment to on the fly to the speed and nuances of the NFL game. Give the kid kudos and props. He's done probably better than anybody realistically expected. But I would say if I'm Chicago, man, I'm playing Jay Fields the rest of the season because I've got to make a choice at the end of the season. We riding with this dude or we replacing this guy? And, for me, if I'm the GM, I want to get as much film for me to make an educated choice on if I'm keeping him or shipping him out of here. So that's me. All right, Dr. D, Dallas. Okay. CPT. I usually catch this after y'all go off air. Thanks for the daily listen. Hey, more than happy to, man. I enjoy this exponentially. So you guys and this thing, whatever we've got going on here, this is as much as part of my day, and I enjoy it as anything else, man. Drum, what do you got? Hey, Coach, are we still in a rebuild? What does that mean when coaches and players move all the time? As far as a rebuild from a winning standpoint, no. I mean, last year, hey, we had a winning season, borderline playoff team. This year, unless we really fall on our face these last 8 games, we're going to be in the playoffs. I don't think it's a rebuild anymore, but now you've made the move from the bottom teams to, you could say, above the middle of the pack towards the upper echelon of teams. Here's where it gets tough, in my opinion, because making that move up in the NFL, since they want everybody to have parity, that should be not easy, but it should be more achievable than what you're about to do. You want to get into the top 3 to 5 teams in the NFL. You got to have luck. You got to draft well. Your free agency has to be good. Your salary cap has to be sound. And you've got to retain talent. The talent's got to be from the player base, but also the coaching base. And that's where Detroit, I think, Jerome, this will be a key offseason for them. Can you attain enough talent this offseason to help push you up against the Philadelphias, the Kansas Cities, or whoever, the top historical teams year in and year out the last 5 years? Now, if some of your OCs or DCs do depart, who are you replacing with? Because make no mistake, that has a huge impact on the game. Coaching decisions make a huge impact on the game. I'm going to talk about the University of Michigan just for a second to kind of illustrate my point. I have no idea what Jim Harbaugh would have done if he was there, last weekend, whatever day they play on, Saturday, excuse me. But the offensive coordinator who acted as the head coach, I don't remember the dude's name. One hell of a post-game interview, though. But he made a real, gutsy call. He went with like 7 offensive linemen, 6 offensive linemen, whatever it was. Said, we're not going to pass the ball. We're just going to run this thing down your throat. Not everybody's got the cojones to pull that off and just say, now we're going to do it over and over again. That dude did, and I bet you're going to have people coming after him this offseason because he showed you something. Just like with Ben Johnson or any other coordinator who gets on a roll in a hot topic. Now the thing is, who do you replace that guy with? I'm anticipating the Lions have had guys bird dogging or shadowing Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson last year and this year, specifically for that reason, knowing that there's a realistic chance they're going to be gone. So you want that person who's understudying from them to learn as much of the terms, the knowledge that they have, so they can try to mirror them if they depart. You want to, Jerome, your point is, hey, are we still in a rebuild? I don't think so. But now the real challenge is here. What can you do to put yourself in that top tier of teams year in and year out and make a push, not for the playoffs, but for the Super Bowl? Because at the end of the day, if you're only playing to win games or get into the playoffs, really, what's the point? Your goal needs to be from before you even hit that field for OTAs and stuff like that. Our expectation here is to win the Super Bowl. And that's where I think mentally we've got to change some things. 3 years ago or 2 years ago, whatever it was, your expectation was just to be competitive. Your expectation now is to make the playoffs. You now need to elevate, and that includes the players and coaches, everybody in the front office, from the dude who, cuts tickets to the guy who gives out the beers or whatever. Everybody's got to have one single goal. What do we have to do to grind just a little bit more and do what the other 99% of teams won't do? because if we get in that 1%, that's when we have the opportunity to win a championship. So that's probably too much coach talk there, but hey, you guys get it. All right, Michael Jordan. Speaking of power rankings, 2 polls had Lions at number 1. The rest of them had them at 2 and 3. All right. So they got us, a couple of them have us taking over the Eagles. I will go with that, man. I'm not going to say don't do it. It's just I give the Eagles respect just because they only have 1 loss so far, and obviously we got 2. But an argument could be made that, sure, we're number 1 without question. Top tier probably should have kicked the tires on, and if he hasn't signed somewhere else, you still have the opportunity. It's just, again, I'm surprised on Mondays and Tuesdays we haven't brought in anybody just for some, walkthroughs, workouts, just in case we need to sign someone. Nick, sorry, I know you're probably hearing this a ton. I'm sick of watching teams expose them. Not confident in our defense's ability to stop Fields. And, Nick, that's kind of what I was just talking about. To me, Fields hits a lot of our weaknesses, and I've been saying that for a month or two. And we're going to see, my guess is we're going to see what Chicago's real plan is for the rest of this season. I believe he's probably healthy enough. I'll go understand. I'm not over there evaluating him or anything. But if he's rolled out this week, we know Chicago's plans are to just try to win. They're, doing a deep dive study on him for the rest of the year to say, hey, we keeping this guy or we're moving on from him. And yeah, he's going to put some real pressure on Aaron Glenn in this defense, 100%. All right, Michael, what do you got? Mr. Mike, when you break down the offense, do you see J-Mo drawing the safeties deep? Does that allow St. Brown to get more chunk yardage? Seems St. Brown is making more chunk gains than in the past. That's Mike, that's a really good question you got there. So with Jameson Williams, I guess the short answer without, spending 20 minutes on it, does he affect coverages? Yes. Yes, he does. I think every defensive coordinator is aware of his presence as soon as he comes in. And you watch, not only do you watch so start with I didn't want to do this, but anyway, start with the safeties. When he comes on the field, nobody plays single high safety. They're dropping 2 guys back. Or if they do roll one of the safeties up to the second tier of the defense, as soon as that ball is snapped, that dude is turning and burning to get back. So they're trying to disguise their coverage. The other part is when he comes on the field, watch the second level of the defense. They're switching out personnel based on his presence. So without doing a deep dive on it and getting out the coach's film in the chalkboard or whatever you want to say, yes, he's a game changer, and I think we're all seeing him develop more and more. But the reason why I wouldn't give up on him is because everybody's aware he is a problem for them. So even the fastest DBs in the league, there's only a couple of them that could run, step for step with him. That means the vast majority of them have to back up and give space to him because they know 1 or 2 steps and this guy's, gone. He's going, and they need that space for makeup. I guess the other way to combat it would to come up and press him at the line, trying to own him physically. But that also means you need to roll one of those safeties over the top, because if he gets past that press and there's nobody to protect over the top, that's a pretty easy pass and catch. All right, Phil, when Ben Johnson hang with the Lions till we win it all, will he? That's really his call. But if I was his financial advisor or spiritual advisor, whatever kind of advisor, I'd be telling him, man, somebody offers you a head coaching job and you're getting a 5 or 4-year deal, guaranteed money, you take it. You get fired there, you can always come back, but you do not always get that opportunity. So if your job is, if you really want to keep evolving as a coach, that's his next step. And yeah, you take it, you roll with it. You wish Detroit well, you love everybody here, but you got to do what's right for your family. All right, Ryan, St. Brown is elite. I would agree with that. He's one of the top, I don't know, we say he's one of the top 5 or 4 receivers in the NFL. I think at this point you say St. Brown is one of those top echelon players without question. Will they get him a new contract after the season? He's so underpaid. Money shows appreciation. Him and Sewell. Boy, I got to remember the years on the contracts, but Sewell, I think, has 1 more year where they can pay him, or they can do another year option on him. Maybe it's 2, but both of them got to be coming up pretty soon, I guess is what I'd say, Ryan. I don't remember offhand where their contracts expire. I want to say they both have at least 1 more year, but don't hold me to that, man. Yeah, I'll have to look at that. Brent, good morning, coach and Duke crew. I didn't notice Will Harris on the field Sunday. Did he play? I'm for playing our younger guys over him. More upside, I think. I would agree. Yeah, go with the younger dudes, Brent, for sure. As far as him on the field, I don't remember him offhand. One thing I will say, and I know I was chatting with some of you guys during the game, pay attention to Rodrigo. He's playing a lot, and it's not just on defense. He's playing special teams. He's playing on offense. I think we all get as a fullback. But did you guys realize that even on offense, he ran a few pass patterns to catch passes? He wasn't just in there to block. So he is evolving. And then you did see him on defense as a linebacker quite a bit. So I didn't look into his total snap count between all three phases, but Rodrigo was out there quite a bit. Will Harris, though, Brent, I don't recall him being out there. If I missed it, I apologize. I don't really remember him being out there, though. Phil, should Lions stop this cone scheme? Yeah, I'm not in favor of running it so much, I guess is what I'd say. It's just, do I think there's a place for it, Phil? I do. But do I think you should run it 90% of all snaps against mobile quarterbacks? No, I don't. Because when you are predictable, people get comfortable and know what to do. Not just Fields. Herbert, look at him in the first quarter. Look at him early in the second quarter. He's rattled. He's off base. He's off target. He's guessing a lot. He's not calm. Once they make that switch to go to the hurry up and allow him to make the adjustments, and okay, yeah, they're in this coverage over here. They're playing zone over the top, man underneath. Now they're playing zone underneath, man over the top. Now the will's coming. Now the will's dropping. He got a lot more comfortable. And what happened in that game towards about the latter part of the second quarter and then throughout the second half, he was no longer rattled. He was totally calm, at peace. I mean, dude was a Buddhist monk out there and just could feel no pressure. And because of it, he carved up RD righteously. So would I get rid of the cone? Not fully, but I think you need to switch up your defense every play. You need to do everything you can to force quarterbacks to have to pause for even a half second, because a half second late on a throw probably means it's either getting tipped or behind the receiver, or, hey, if you're a Lions fan, maybe you picked off. When you're allowing guys to just sit there and, chill, drink a margarita while they're playing quarterback, I mean, you see what happens. And it's happened in every game where we've run it exclusively throughout the game. Now you look at like Green Bay or some other games where we switch it up all the time. That's also when we get a lot of sacks. That's also when we rattle other quarterbacks. So there's one thing to be said for being a coach and saying, hey, I got an idea. We're going to roll with it. And then when it doesn't work, well, we didn't execute. And I think just me being as transparent as possible, I think that's BS, man. It's not that the play didn't work. It's not the players weren't in your schemes or whatever. It's that you became predictable. And these guys are all pros. Most of these OCs, you want to talk about compulsive people that sit and, watch tape way too long and have no life. That's probably an offensive coordinator. They know when you show them this, we're going to start doing this, that, and the other thing. And think about Seattle. Think about Baltimore. Think about, the Chargers. They knew when to hit us and where to hit us. And once you get calm, it's like playing Madden. So, yeah, again, probably going on too long. All right, Michael Jordan, what do you got? Houston's is not the answer. He is small. He's just quicker than the O-line. Yeah, but right now, man, I'd say this, Michael, he would give us something we sorely need. That's a pass rush. But to your point, I think you're right. He's a liability in any kind of running situation. Obvious passing downs, though, he would help out quite a bit, I think. Southwest line, pressure on the QBs are worthless if they can elude the pass rush and throw with a clear view of the field. Yeah, so again, you've got to figure some things out here to try to keep him guessing, keep him off base. It's not an easy thing to do. I get it. If it was, you wouldn't have a lot of good offenses in the NFL. But you got to find a way to not give them, 5 to 9 Mississippis back there either. So I'll leave that to Aaron Glenn to have to deal with that. All right, Fletch Lives, what do you got? Ultima, Florida in the big house. Great show. Thanks for that, man. Hopefully you're having a good day too, man. All right, Robert, what do you got? Is John Fox on the payroll? Last I knew, he is as like a defensive advisor or something like that. I don't remember the specific title, but yes, Don, there was never a such thing as an easy schedule. That BS never existed. This is the NFL. Yeah, 100% agree. But you want to know, I'll just put it this way, man. I get some people overreact, especially early in the season. And yes, the sun's starting to come out early in the season saying, man, this team's trash or whatever. Teams improve and move in so many different directions over the course of the season as players get healthy or evolve, or the coaching staff get a better idea of what they're working with. So I'll just say that, yeah, I don't overlook any team, and I would recommend that no coach or player ever does that. Southwest, I think the Saints have already signed. Oh, did they already? Okay, to their practice squad. Well, if he's on the practice squad, you can still get him. It's just obviously you're going to have to snag him and then put him on your regular season squad, not just the practice squad. So, yeah, New Orleans Saints. All right, good morning, Coach, from Randy. Coach Dan, Lions have time to get the defense going. We'll be facing weak offenses until Dallas and Minnesota. They do have some time to get some things right. So what I would say is, hey, come out and play whatever you're going to do the first parts of the game. If you're fortunate enough against Green Bay or Chicago or whoever, the sisters of the weak and the poor, where in the fourth quarter you got a sizable lead and now you want to toy around with some new defenses or principles, go ahead and do it there, because this is your opportunity here. But make no mistake, I wouldn't start the game with too much of that where you're gravely, rolling the dice on some stuff. But you've got to get in some new schemes and principles and catch people off guard on the offensive side of the ball. All right, Southwest, that Sunday night game between Minnesota and Broncos will be interesting. Minnesota does have a few games coming up I see on the schedule that, I'm going to be selfish here. I hope they lose, because obviously that helps Detroit. But we'll see. I think I want to say the next 3 games, they've got some stuff here where maybe they could lose a few. And if they do and the Lions win, then, the division should be about over at that point. Steve, what do you got? Good morning, Coach. I have a feeling Big Dan will light a fire under this defensive coaches, and they would like a fire under the players. And we will see improvement next week. I hope so, man. They've, to me, they're predictable right now. And if you and me can sit and watch some, basic movements or nuances out of the defense and have a, say 80% win rate on what we're in, then an NFL quarterback and an NFL OC is probably got a closer to 100% certainty what they're in, which means they're going to probably own the defense. We'll see. All right, Southwest, Woodward Sports is swallowing the Kool-Aid whole, glossing over the defensive issues. I get a lot of these people in the media. This is what they do for a living, and their job, let's be honest, is to be entertainers. They got to get you guys to come in and click like, subscribe, all that stuff. It's how they feed their families, and I get it. So I can't imagine having to put out content, 10 hours a day. You always got to have something to talk about. That's just an hour a day for me. And I know, Phil, you and a couple others said, hey, 2 hours, but 1 hour a day I think is about good for me. That being said, it's about due 30 here. Phil, are the refs taking orders from the press box? Probably not. But I will say this. The NFL has done, I think, a better job of trying to speed up the game while offering assistance to the on-field officials. Some of the rule changes they've made, like I know I watched part of the Monday night game last night, not the whole thing, but there was the call from overhead on one of the fumbles that the on-field official ruled one way, but I mean they had that call in from the upstairs official super quick. I did like how they handled the end zone catch by Denver. I mean, they didn't have to challenge. They went ahead and looked at it on their own, and they came up to a pretty quick decision. I get there's a ton of moving parts, and there's a ton of people on the field that all those officials have to watch, and the officials are human. They're going to see things differently than you or I. They don't have a vested interest, but I think the NFL is doing a lot of good things to help the on-field officials. Phil, did the Bears take Sweat so the Lions wanted him? I do think I hate saying it, man, but I do think there's some truth to that the Bears may have taken him to keep him out of Detroit. I do think there's some potential level there. John, I'm hoping that future head coach Aaron Glenn finds his head coaching spot soon. Yeah, we'll see. If he really finishes this season strong, he's going to have some calls for sure. Southwest, Dan, how much of the defensive struggles is on AJ and how much is on the players? I think it's close to 50-50 Southwest. I mean, let's put it this way. A lot of his plays or designs would be a lot more significant if you had, some superior talent that could get past those blocks and to the quarterback, or just, I guess maybe if you had someone like Aaron Donald or whatever that could just bull rush that offensive lineman, not get past them, but just push them back into the quarterback, then yeah, those plays would be exponentially better. And we'd be saying he's a genius because the players would supersede the scheme. The problem right now is a lot of the players are reliant upon the scheme in order to get rush or pressure on the other quarterback. They can't do it on their own. And you can look over the defense, and I put it this to you guys, and you guys can answer it or marinate on this. If you got to say who are the elite players on the Lions defense, and you got to be honest with yourself, who are the elite ones? If you say there's only one or two, then the defense is probably undermanned compared to most NFL offenses. And if there's, I'm going to say this, I would say Hutchinson is, he's pretty close to being elite. I don't, it's hard to say because he get double and tripled so much, but he's in that conversation. Let's at least go with that. Where do you rank the rest of the defensive line? Are they average? Are they below average? Are they just good? And that's the problem when they face better offensive lines. Where's the better talent, and is that better talent winning at the vast majority of the time? So, all right, probably enough of all that stuff. Probably put a few of you guys to sleep. Get one or two more up here, and then it's time for the do. Top tier, what do you got? Would you rather pay the O-line and let Goff walk, start Hooker, or pay Goff and replace Lyman man or two? Hate to say it, man, but I'm probably paying Goff in that scenario just because I'm going to assume it's a lot easier to replace offensive linemen, and it's no discredit to them. I just think mathematically on the planet Earth, there's more people I can get to play offensive line at a high level than there is to get quarterbacks to play at Goff's level. As far as humans on this planet, who knows? Hooker could be the next best thing to Mountain Dew. He could be that level guy. It's just I haven't seen it yet. So because I don't have an inkling where he's at with things, I can tell you from a physical standpoint, that dude, he's got a cannon and he is mobile. He appears to have some pretty good accuracy too. I just haven't seen it at this level yet. So do I want to risk the future and us being competitive, potentially going to the playoffs or Super Bowl on an unknown? That's something I'm not willing to do, at least. David 80, what do you got? Team offense has the defense's back. D will return the favor. Just win, baby. Going to work, Lions. And one thing I would say to you guys real quick before we get off the air, let's also give the defense some credit. There's some games they won this year for us when the offense wasn't doing so well. So let's also it's human nature, right, to kind of overreact to what happened against the Chargers. But let's also give some credit to the defense and say, hey, go back and look at each game on the schedule this year. Have there been games the offense was not great and the defense stepped up? And I'd say, if we're trying to be fair, my opinion, that has happened. But they did get carved up Sunday, obviously, and I do think they're in a real rough spot right now. Aaron Glenn's going to have to figure some things out. All right, guys, it went on for over an hour here. The Dew is calling me, and so will work. So I'm going to have to get going here. If you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so before you log out. If you haven't hit the like button, please do so. Also, if some breaking news happens today, I'll try to get it out to you guys as fast as possible. Otherwise, we'll see you all tomorrow morning on the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.